If you're struggling with MCAS, anxiety, or insomnia, there might be one chemical in your body that's quietly turning up the volume on all of your symptoms. It's called glutamate. And here's the thing, it's not supposed to be the villain until it builds up and starts wreaking havoc on your entire system. Hi, I'm Carrie Bailey, your functional nutritionist and long COVID recovery specialist. I've helped hundreds of people move from barely surviving to actually thriving again, without the overwhelm, without the guesswork, and definitely without the just rest more advice that's gotten you nowhere. Today, we're going deep into something that's finally explained why you might be feeling why you're reacting to everything, why your brain feels like it's on fire, and why you can't seem to calm your nervous system down no matter what you try. I'll explain what glutamate is, why too much causes problems, and where it comes from, both internally and externally, and why your body might be making too much, and what you can do to calm things down. I see this all the time in my practice. People say, Carrie, I just can't handle stress. Now I jump at every sound. I can't tolerate foods that I used to love, and I feel like I'm living in somebody else's body. If this sounds like you, it's not in your head. Your body is giving you real signals, and there is a path forward. So start off by grabbing my free long COVID recovery guide. I put a link in the description below for practical steps to start calming your system today. Glutamate is your brain's main excitatory chemical or neurotransmitter. So think of it as your friend who gets everybody fired up for the party. Let's learn, let's focus, let's pay attention. In a healthy brain, glutamate does its job, and then it converts to GABA, your brain's calm down chemical. Picture a seesaw. Glutamate on one side, that go, 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 and GABA on the other side. Relax, all is well. And when this seesaw is balanced, you feel focused, but not wired. You feel alert, but not anxious. But what happens when glutamate cannot convert to GABA? You get stuck with too much of the excitement friend and not enough of the calm down friend. Your brain gets stuck in overexcitation, like someone constantly poking you saying, stay alert, something might be wrong. Let's talk about what disrupts this conversion. Chronic stress. So when you're constantly in fight or flight mode, your body prioritizes making stress hormones over making GABA. It's like your body says, we don't have time to relax. There's a tiger chasing us. And the tiger is really just your overflowing inbox. Nutrient deficiencies is another reason why you're not converting. This conversion needs specific nutrients to work, especially vitamin B6 in its active form. Think of B6 as the worker who runs the recycle plant. No worker, no recycling. Toxins are involved, heavy metals, mold, pesticides. They all gum up the works. It's like throwing sand in your recycling machine. If your liver is sluggish, because your liver is supposed to clear all that excess glutamate, but when it's overwhelmed, glutamate just keeps building up. It doesn't get released. So what does it feel like when this seesaw is stuck with too much glutamate and not enough GABA? You might feel wired but tired, exhausted but unable to settle down, racing thoughts at 2 a.m., jumping when someone closes the door, feeling like you're constantly plugged in to some invisible electrical current. You might become sensitive to sounds, light, smells. Your startle reflex becomes hyperactive. And some people describe this feeling like they have internal vibrations, like they're literally buzzing inside. And here's where it gets really interesting for those of you dealing with long COVID, MCAS, or mystery symptoms. Excess glutamate doesn't just affect your brain, it triggers your mast cells, worsening inflammation throughout your body and making you reactive to foods and chemicals that you used to tolerate just fine. When you have viral infections like COVID or Epstein-Barr, viruses leave behind viral debris, toxic waste that interferes with glutamate to GABA conversion. Plus, when you're sick, it means that you already have chronic stress because there's so much adrenaline in your body trying to calm the whole process down, which further disrupts this process. And the body has detox garbage trucks that should be clearing the glutamate. But when they're overwhelmed by viral debris and stress, these systems get jammed up. And your liver, which is the main processing plant, it just can't keep up. High glutamate directly triggers your mast cells, your body's overly protective security guards. So when glutamate whispers, there's something wrong, in their ear, they start reacting to everything. They react to foods, smells, and temperature changes. This can look like brain fog, like you're moving through molasses, burning skin sensations, dizziness, internal buzzing, sudden anxiety for no reason, food reactions to previously tolerated foods. This creates a vicious cycle. You've got the viral infection triggering glutamate buildup, triggering mast cell activation, triggering more inflammation, triggering overwhelmed detox, and more glutamate buildup. And now you're on this hamster wheel that your body just can't get out of. Let's talk about sleep for a minute, because GABA is crucial, not only for falling asleep, but for staying asleep. So when you can't convert glutamate to GABA efficiently, your brain literally can't turn off. You lie in bed with racing thoughts, or you fall asleep, but then you wake up at 2 a.m. with your mind spinning or trying to solve world problems like me. Some people describe it as feeling like your brain is plugged into an electrical socket, even when you're exhausted. That's excess glutamate keeping your nervous system revved up when it should be winding down. So symptoms of this glutamate dysregulation might look like your nervous system you might have a heightened startle reflex. You might have internal vibrations, buzzing, hypervigilance. Emotionally, you might feel like anxiety from nowhere. You might feel a sudden rage over the smallest of things, and you might have just emotional dysregulation. Physically, you could have pain flares, headaches, jaw tension, inner restlessness that moving doesn't help. Sleep-wise, you can't fall asleep because of your racing thoughts, or you wake up between 1 and 4 a.m. feeling unrefreshed if you actually are able to get 8 hours of sleep. From a sensory standpoint, you are sensitive to sound and light and chemicals. Perfumes or cleaning products become unbearable. So you feel like you get triggered when you go into Target or Walmart or any, laundry section of a store. You start reacting to things that you used to tolerate just fine. So if this sounds like you're not crazy, you're not weak. This isn't just stress. Your body is literally giving you signals about real biochemical imbalances. Let's talk about the root causes. So there's a lot of root causes, I say. There's 2 root causes. One is pathogens and the other are toxins. And then there's other contributing factors which kind of come more like a snowball effect. So let's start with pathogens. So the number one pathogen that I see involved in this is Streptococcus. You might know that as strep throat, but can actually produce toxins that interfere with your brain's glutamate regulation. And here's the kicker. You don't need to have an active strep infection. These bacteria can live quietly in your system for years, slowly producing toxins. You could have Epstein-Barr. This is known as the virus that causes mono, but it can reactivate later in your life and start taking up residence anywhere in your body and interfering in your nervous system. And when it does, it produces waste that elevates glutamate. HHV6 is another sneaky virus that loves to hang out and affect your nervous system, contributing to the glutamate buildup. The other major factor are toxins, specifically environmental toxins, things like heavy metals, mold, pesticides. These block the glutamate to GABA conversion. And then diets that are high in glutamate foods, which are kind of similar to histamine foods. We'll talk about those in a second. And also low minerals, especially like magnesium and B vitamins and zinc. And then high fat foods are also going to prevent your liver from working really well to clear that glutamate. If you have some genetic issues, we've talked about genetics, and I'll put a link next to a couple of those videos here. There's the CBS gene and the SHMT gene. These gene variations affect how well you clear waste and how well you make glycine, which is also another calming amino acid and precursor to GABA. So if you have these variations, you need a lot more B6 support than your average person that might not have these genetic variations. But genetics aren't your destiny. Think of your genes as blueprints showing potential weak spots, not guarantees. So there's environmental factors, infections, and nutrient deficiencies which can activate those genes, turn them on, if you will, creating weaknesses. If you can address those, you can work around your genetic variations beautifully. Now, for most people, it's a perfect storm. It's a mix of genetic variations, viral infections, chronic stress, bacterial overgrowth, and nutrient deficiencies. And these are all the things we need to look at. We need to look at the whole picture of your current symptoms and your past symptoms to figure out what's going on in the terrain of your body. The steps to remove all of this, there's a 6-step method that I like to use. It's first, we need to lower the glutamate exposure. This means reducing the foods that you're eating that have glutamate in them. This is anything like MSG, which literally stands for monosodium glutamate. It might say monosodium glutamate on the label, or it might be hidden under the terms natural flavors, yeast extract, nutritional yeast. There's a lot of foods that can fall under that label. You want to avoid high glutamate foods, things like aged cheese, cured meats, and even tomatoes. Now, I don't like to take tomatoes out for a long time. As you know, they're a healing food, but you might need to pull them out for some time. And then citric acid is another huge trigger of glutamate and histamine. What you think about is turning down the dial, turning down the volume for healing, not permanent restriction, but sometimes you need to clean up the environment a little bit. The next step is to clean up the gut issues. So if there is a bacterial overgrowth or a virus in the gut, like strep, that produces glutamate elevating toxins, you want to get those cleaned up. Step 3 is to support the liver. So bringing in lemon water first thing in the morning to stimulate bile production. You want to bring in celery juice because it has sodium cluster salts, which help with detoxification. It helps kill the pathogens in the digestive tract and starts boosting your natural function of your stomach acid and your bile flow. Asparagus, if you can tolerate it, it's a very potent healing food. So if you can't tolerate it, that's understandable, because it also helps your body produce glutathione. So there's just some key foods that makes it, because they're so powerful, that your body might not tolerate it. Cilantro is a heavy metal detoxer. Awesome. Even if you have to start with one single sprig, and ideally go up to a quarter bunch, a half a bunch, a whole bunch of cilantro. You want to temporarily reduce your fat. And some people have to go literally to no fat for a period of time to really ease the burden on the liver. Step 4 is to bring in really calming nutrients that start correcting your biochemical pathways for calm. One is glycine. It balances glutamate, and you can start with as little as a gram throughout the day. You can start with as little as a pinch. The next is magnesium glycinate. This is going to support the conversion of glutamate to GABA, and it's going to give the minerals that your body needs. B6, this is the worker for the glutamate to GABA conversion. Inositol, amazing for calming racing thoughts. Taurine really helps that wired but tired feeling. One of my favorite herbs for calming, especially for sleep, but you can use it throughout the day, is passion flower and GABA. But not all GABAs are created equal. So there is some GABA that's out there called pharma-GABA, and this is created through a fermentation process. So using that could definitely aggravate you. So if you're a person who has tried GABA before and it did not work, explore what form of GABA was that. Was it from fermented foods to create the GABA, or was there some other form? So explore that, because not all GABA is bad. And step 5, especially if you have MCAS and especially if you're super sensitive, start low and go slow. So my hypersensitive systems that can react to even healthful nutrients initially, you have to start with the utmost tiniest of dosage. Maybe it's just a pinch and you need to build up from there. Step 6 is to rebuild your natural GABA production. So this is things like prioritizing sleep. Even though you cannot sleep, if you can create an environment where you would ideally try to sleep between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m., that's your deep sleep window, that's going to help. So making sure your bed is comfortable and your room is cool and that you're off your devices and you haven't eaten in a few hours. So all of those things to really prioritize sleep and creating the environment to start calming things down. Gentle movements like yoga and walking is amazing. You know, people on here have talked about, and my viewers have talked about breath work. Some people find benefit in breath work, and some people breath work makes worse. So I say just spend 5 minutes closing your eyes and just following your breath. You don't have to do any fancy breath work. You don't have to count. You don't have to do anything. Just close your eyes and follow your breath. Set a timer for 5 minutes. It can be so helpful. And then, of course, stress management, right? Is removing as many stressors in your life as you can. If you're reacting to everything, if your nervous system feels completely out of whack, it's not in your head. Your body is giving real signals about real biochemical imbalances. And there is a path forward. You can calm that glutamate-GABA seesaw. Everything else can improve. Mast cells can calm down. Sleep improves. Food intolerances expand. And stress resilience can rebuild. Grab my free long COVID recovery guide. This is my step-by-step guide to strategies that you can start right away. And comment below, have you experienced an issue with glutamate symptoms? What resonated with your experience in this video? If you found this video helpful, hit the like button, give me a thumbs up. And if you would like to see more long COVID, MCAS, and mystery symptom videos, subscribe to my channel. And remember that your symptoms are information, they're not punishment. You're not broken. Healing is definitely possible, and you don't have to figure this out alone. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.